Hello. Welcome to PERESMESHNIK, an original interactive narrative by Sean Arnold. I had this game a while ago. I had this game a while ago. I really liked it. Horrifying. This is going to be very different than the last 4 uploads. Because it's a horror game, but it's not much of a horror game, you'll see. For the best experience, please use headphones. Click the top left arrow to control the volume. November 9th, 1962. Your name is Vector Pavlov. You're an oceanographer. About the Soviet... what? Oceanographer. My brain. Okay, about the Soviet frigate. The PERESMESHNIK. I'm just not going to pronounce the words anymore. You've been tasked with mapping the ocean floor of a region in the Antarctic Sea. Arctic. This is going to be rough. You are currently sitting on the cot in your personal quarters. It is a small room with just enough space for a bed and a small desk. A torn envelope lies on your desk. You are fiddling around with a small silver locket containing a picture of your wife and daughter. Inside the envelope has been torn open without much care. There is a letter inside. Dear Vector, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I haven't seen or heard from you for months. I understand that the work you do is important, but you should be here. If not for me, then for Maya. She needs a father. I wanted it to be you, but you left. I know the union needed you, but I wish you had stayed when I asked. Since you left, Leonid has been coming by more often. He's helping me raise Maya. Just the other day, she called him father. I wanted to correct her, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, because in some ways, he is her father. He's always been there and you haven't. She is replacing you with him. I still love you and you're losing Maya, but you're losing Maya. Please come back. With love, Eulenia. Put the letter down. Next. You grab the notebook and leave the room. You head towards the mess hall where the rest of the crew is eating dinner. When you arrive at the door, you hear loud, muffled voices on the other side. You may enter whenever you are ready. You open the door and grab some food. Tonight it is mashed potatoes and peas. You sit down at the table and open your notebook. There is a chart of the nearby sea inside. As you look over your notes, there is a loud burst of laughter from the crew. The charts are maps of the ocean floor that were made using sonography. Something about the charts of this region doesn't make sense to you. In the charts, there is a large body of mass at the bottom of the ocean that doesn't look like any natural formation you have ever seen. This alone perplexed you, but the second chart you made showed that the mass moved. To be safe, you made a third chart, and the final chart, you saw what appeared to be a chunk of the mass break off from the main body. The shape of the mass does not look like any known animal there is, and there is no information on any plant-based life that could move that fast. You aren't sure if you accidentally discovered a new species of aquatic life or if your sensors are on the fritz again. Let's go to the laughter. At the other table, the crew is laughing at Uriniv, who has 2 different plates for his peas and potatoes. A bellowing laugh fills the room. You look over to see Orobrov, who is grinning ear to ear. Uriniv, gesturing towards the plates. Uriniv Rushlevic is a deckhand of the I'm just going to call it the Paris. He joined the Soviet Navy at a young age, mainly for the free grub and the pay. He has a mild case of brumotactilophobia, also known as the fear of different foods touching. This fear often makes him the target of ridicule from the other crew members. Oborev Denisovich, why do they all end in Vich? It annoys me. Is the resident mechanic for the Paris. He has been working on the Paris for 6 years and has grown to be very fond of the ship. You once heard him cooing at the ship's engine when you walked by the boiler room. He has a very large build, but he is very friendly. You have not talked to him much, but you could see that Oborov is a very jovial person. The others seem to enjoy talking to him. He is one of a kind, no one could replace him. Hint hint. His plates. It is very simple. Pea here, potato there. Oh, no. It very simple. Pea here, potato here. Pea never touched potatoes. Uriniv attempts to explain anxiously. It abomination. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong, Yuri. Hold up. Do you hear that? Mortar fire! Oberov flings a few peas into Uriniv's mashed potatoes. Black! Why do you do this? Why you do this? The room bursts into laughter as Uriniv scrambles to pick the peas out of his potato. Tell Oberov to lay off of Uriniv. Say nothing, leave. This is a big part of the story. This is going to be where we split off from the thing. So tell Oberov to lay off of Uriniv, say nothing, or leave. I am going to try and go a little rogue. We're leaving. The noise is too loud for you to properly study the anomalous notes from today. You finish up your food as quickly as possible and leave the mess hall to go to your room. When you get to your personal quarters, you sit down at your desk and begin to look over your notes and the charts at the region. After a few hours, you notice your eyelids grow heavier and heavier. You start to think about sleep, however, so many questions still plague you. Go to bed. Could it be a new species? What could it be? What is down there? Is it maybe sensors are broken? You crawl into bed and begin to fall asleep. Paranoia 3. Ah! You are awakened by a deafening scream. You clamber out of bed and rush towards the source. You arrive to find a stunned Oborov, mouth agape and eyes wide open, staring into the supply closet. Look inside. As you get closer to the closet, you are hit with a pungent smell. You slowly peer inside and your jaw immediately drops. The walls are drenched in blood, intestines strewn about the shelves like ornaments, and blood pools on the floor. One look at the intestines and you realize something terrible. It's human. You feel your stomach churn as you stumble backwards. Gagging, you lean on the wall for support. A torrent of footsteps is heard as the other crew members arrive. After a few minutes, the entire crew is at the supply closet. You recollect yourself and begin to observe the others. Some of the crew grab Orebrov, still frozen in shock, and attempt to pull him away from the scene. Others gather to the small groups and begin whispering. It probably just animal, right? Think, Yuri, another crew member interjects. Does that look like animal intestine? No! You wait for more of the crew to arrive. Soon, Captain Stepanov arrives and demands an explanation. As you look at the 13 crew members around you, you notice one odd detail that stands out to you. No one is missing. Captain Ramir Stepanov, what was that? Trust no one. Oh, Paranoia 13. That's why it's whispering. Is the commanding officer of the Paris. He rarely ever fraternizes with the rest of the crew and instead prefers to sit down in his quarters alone, drinking the night away. Other than that, you do not know much about the captain, other than he stays out of your way and you stay out of his. If I keep it to myself, I'm pretty sure that's more what my character would do. Because he walked away and didn't want to be a part of the interjections that were happening earlier. You stand quietly as the others debate what happened. Captain Stepanov frowns at the crew members and continues to argue what happened. I can't speak. Frowns at the crew members continue arguing over what happened. Spotting you, he walks across the hall to where you are. Vector, you are scientist. What you make of this? Tell him what you know. As you explain that the blood probably came from one of the crew, doubt begins to creep over the captain's face. Stepanov lets out a deep sigh. Yomo, what do you suggest then? Run tests on the blood. Stepanov gives you an incredulous look. Blood test, is this necessary? We don't have a lot of testing kits. I don't want to waste kits on a hunch. We need to narrow down suspects and will put the crew at ease. The crew is on edge. If nothing else, blood test will let them think that we have a plan of some kind. It will help put them at ease if you do some wonders will do some wonders for morale. You wait for Stepanov's response. Captain Stepanov squints as he thinks it over. After a few minutes, he reluctantly nods to you and then turns to address the crew. Vector will perform tests on blood. Until we get results, everyone will be in the mess hall. As the crew heads to the mess hall, you grab a sample of the blood and head to the medical room. You grab a blood test kit and the medical files for all of the crew members. You plan to use the blood type to narrow down suspects. You start the test and begin logging the blood types of each crew member. As you're doing this, the first step of the test is complete. Begin the second step. You start speculating about where the blood could have come from as you wait for the results on the test. Was it Oberev? Who could it be from? Was it Oberev? As soon as the test is complete, you compare it to the testing manual. The blood type is somewhat rare, a negative. You scan your notes of the crew's blood type and find the only two crew members that have this type of blood, Oberev Desnovich and Urinev Ruslanovich. It's the two that we were talking about earlier. Report to the mess hall. As you walk to the mess hall, you try to make sense of what you're trying to say. If any person lost that amount of blood and that was in that room, they would be dead. But you saw both Oberev and Urinev at the supply closet. It couldn't be from one of them, could it? You arrive at the door in the mess hall. Open the door. You enter the mess hall to find the crew waiting for you. Some are eating breakfast, others still seem to be in shock. Captain Stepanov looks at you as you walk in. Well, Vector, what did you find? You look around the room to spot Oberev, who is sitting at the table, arms crossed, staring straight ahead. Next to him is Urinev, who is eating the leftovers from a plate in front of him. The plate contains both peas and potatoes. You share your findings, or wait a second. Wait a second. Next to him was Urinev, who was eating leftovers from a plate in front of him. The plate contains both peas and potatoes. You notice that Urinev is eating potatoes and peas on the same plate despite his fear of foods touching. You watch him eat a few spoonfuls and are shocked to see him eat both foods in one bite. Vector, why now? He never eats foods together like that. What's changed? Vector, an angry Captain Stepanov interrupts your thoughts. You look around to see the entire crew staring at you, waiting in anticipation for results. Call out Urinev. Yuri, your peas touch potatoes? And you still eat? As you speak, Oberev comes out of his daze and begins to stare at Urinev. The room is overcome with a deathly silence as the crew processes this information. Urinev scoffs and looks around at everyone before answering, yeah, so? So the real Yuri has a fear of foods touching. He hates for peas to touch potatoes, Oberev exclaims. Oberev slowly stands up. Oberev's massive build looms over the much smaller Urinev as he steps forward. You're not him. You're not really Yuri. You're not my friend. Oberev lunges at Urinev, clasping his hands around Urinev's neck. The rest of the crew rushes towards Oberev to stop him. As the crew tries to pull Oberev away, Urinev lets out an unearthly scream, and his eyes roll back into the back of his head. Urinev's body begins thrashing as a black liquid begins oozing out of his eyes. His body contorts unnaturally as it begins transforming into something not of this world. The crew backs away in fear as they watch Oberev struggle with the thrashing Urinev. After a few moments, Urinev's body goes limp. Suddenly, a tangle of jet-black tentacles sprouts out of Urinev's back. Some of the crew let out a terrifying yelp as they scramble for the door. The creature lets out one last shriek before slashing Oberev's leg with its tentacles and scurrying off, escaping through one of the vents. The crew looks towards the vent, co-founded by the horror they just witnessed. After a few moments, a crew member runs over to Oberev and begins to treat his leg. There is some shouting to your left, and you turn to see other crew members lying on the floor, blood spurting from his neck. A few people put him on a gurney and cart him out of the mess hall. As you come to your senses, you begin to come up with a plan. We need to evacuate. We have to abandon ship, take lifeboats, and get out of here. Captain Stepanov stares blankly ahead, almost as if in a daze. As you speak, he looks at you blankly. Slowly, he begins to shake his head, his blank expression gradually turning to anger. First off, Vector, you are not captain, I am. Second, you can't abandon ship, not because of some animal. That was not just an animal, that was a monster. It was Yuri, it replaced him, it could do it again. How do we know there isn't another one among us then, Vector? If we bring it with us, the situation is the same. We bring everyone except Oberev. Why would we bring everyone except Oberev? We bring everyone. The blood we found was an A negative. Oberev is the only crew member with this blood type now. While he is in shock, he isn't acting strange. We bring everyone. No, there's too many important charts and equipment on the ship to just abandon. We must find the creature, we kill the creature, that's an order. As Captain Stepanov walks away, he orders two crew members to accompany him. You look after him with disdain. You look around at the rest of the room as the captain leaves. The rest of the crew is nervously fidgeting. Some stare at others with suspicion, eyes darting back and forth, assessing who they can trust. Others are already huddling in small groups, whispering frantically while occasionally glancing nervously at the others. You watch with dismay as some of the crew members sneak away. You need to act now! You know the crew's best chance at survival is to escape before the creature can replace someone else, but Captain Stepanov won't order an evacuation. Oberev is sitting in the corner. His legs are freshly bandaged and he is alone. What do? Ask Oberev for help, escape on your own, organize a mutiny. This is also probably a really big splitting path. I'm gonna ask Oberev for help. You run over to Oberev, who is lying on the ground clutching his bleeding leg, and ask him if he can walk. He looks up at you with a grimace and replies, "It's just a scratch. It will take more than shallow cuts to take me down." "Good, then let's get off the ship." With a furrowed brow, Oberev begins to speak. The captain said, "Stepanov doesn't know shit. We'll all die if we stay here. You saw what it did to Yuri. We stay here and we're next." Oberev is silent for a few moments. "Perhaps you are right. The thing is crafty, and I doubt it replaced Yuri because it wanted new friends. So what do you plan to do? Escape on the lifeboat?" "Vector, the lifeboat's motor is broken. I've been working on it, but even if it weren't, you want to just leave our comrades behind?" You look around the now empty room and then turn back to Oberev with a solemn look. "Everyone is gone. The monster could have already transformed into one of them. Our best chance was to evacuate everyone after the attack, but the chance is gone now." Oberev looks sternly at you before answering. "All right. What you say is probably true. I am in. We don't have any paddles," Oberev chuckles somberly. "That incompetent Yuri lost them the last time we took it out. So, I need tools to fix the lifeboat's engine. Follow me." Oberev walks briskly to his room, and you follow close behind, but have trouble keeping up with him. You are amazed that he is able to walk so fast given his injury. When you enter his room, he begins rummaging through his toolkit. After searching for a moment, he faintly smiles and pulls out a clanking bag. "Aha, here it is. These tools have never let me down." His smile quickly fades as you both hear a strange noise in the distance. There is another shrill scream that sounds almost human. You turn to Vector. "Time to go!" You begin to head towards the lifeboat with Oberev. As you turn a corner, you notice a trail of blood that leads into a room. A look of dread overcomes Oberev's face, but he attempts to reassure you with a nod. You inch towards the door and slowly begin to peer inside. As you look inside, Oberev lets out an audible gasp. Inside the room, you see a pile of bodies in the corner of the room. Your eyes lock onto one of the bodies. You recognize it as Artur, a young boy who worked in the kitchen. His skin is pale white, and his dead eyes stare back at you. As the creature feasts on his body, his mouth hangs open. It's almost as if he was trying to scream for help. You notice a second creature walks towards the bodies and begins eating. Suddenly, you feel a tug on your shoulder as Oberev pulls you away and begins pushing you into another room. You notice the sign on the door says Armory. Once the both of you are in the armory, Oberev locks the door behind you. "New plan. We blow the Bligit up." His voice trembles, but not with fear. His fists are clenched, and he looks at you with determination. "They kill my friends, defile my ship, I blow them up." Oberev holds an explosive charge. You look at him with concern. "Is that safe?" "Of course it's safe. You set charges, you get away from charges, they blow up. Safe! Now let's get going." As he turns to leave, you realize that you don't have any food or medical supplies. "Wait, we need supplies." Oberev looks back at you. "This is true. Alright. You get supplies, I repair ship and arm bomb. Quickly now. You both leave the armory and head your separate ways. You rush into the kitchen and grab some emergency rations, then sprint to your room. As you run, you hear another loud, low roar. You arrive at the door to your room. Open door. You open the door to your room. Also, my paranoia hasn't gone up for quite some time, even though I know what's going on. You open the door to your room. There is no one there. There is a large knife lying on the top of your desk. You often used it to open letters or carve when you were bored. You grab the knife, figuring a weapon might come in handy. You catch a glint in the corner of your eye and look to find your golden locket. It is open and your daughter's face is smiling out at you. You pause a moment before closing the locket and stash it in your pocket. Head towards the lifeboat. As you run, your mind begins to wander frantically. As your mind races, you begin to seriously ponder. Where is it? Is it watching me? What if it replaces Oberev? You begin to think, what if it already got Oberev? What if it replaced him? Will it know our plans? Does it somehow absorb our consciousness or parts of it? How did it know how to communicate? How did it know how to act so human? If it absorbed some of our knowledge of its prey, it could have already gotten Oberev and be waiting for me. Even so, the lifeboat is my only escape now. The lifeboat is just around the corner now. Turn the corner. The lifeboat is now in view. Next to the boat, Oberev is waiting. He is anxiously fidgeting with his wrench before he finally sees you. He begins to smile grimly. As you get closer, you slow down before stopping altogether. You can't help but think how the monster can mimic anyone. What took you so long? Well, hurry on in. This ship is set to blow in 20 minutes. Oberev stops for a second and looks at you inquisitively. What is wrong? Is it really you? What are you saying? You think that I'm that thing? Oberev sighs. I suppose you are right to think so. He pauses a moment before continuing. Not sure how to prove I am not a monster, but I can tell you. I hate that thing and will kill it. The explosives are armed. Believe me when I tell you, it will bring great pleasure to watch that son of a bitch burn in the explosion. And that is why I am not a monster. My paranoia has gone up. You board the ship with him. He smiles as you board the lifeboat. See? Not so bad, right? Oberev looks at you with a warm smile. Now, let's get going. He walks over to the release mechanism and pulls the switch. There's a loud clank of metal as the lifeboat jerks back. However, the mechanism doesn't detach. Oberev's smile is quickly replaced by a panicked look. What is wrong? The release mechanism is jammed, probably because of the cold. Yamoyo! Oberev takes out his tools and begins working at the mechanism locking the lifeboat to place. You hear another roar from the other side of the ship. Hurry! Shut it, Vector. I'm working as fast as I can. As he works, the sound of clanking metal echoes through the ship. You hear another roar. You aren't sure, but you think it's closer this time. Oberev looks back at you with a worried grin. I think we got its attention, comrade. You can do this. Keep going. Oberev turns around to keep working. 10 minutes pass by, but it feels like an eternity. You hear another roar, much closer this time. In the distance, you see a shadow, growing ever larger. You look worriedly at Oberev. Oberev, it's coming! Just a sec. Got it! Poyek Hali. Oberev jumps back over the boat. Hit the switch! In an instant, the lifeboat is released and falls violently towards the ocean water. It hits the water with a deafening smack, creating a massive splash and soaking you in ice-cold water. Oberev flicks a switch on the engine. With a roar, the Enin sputters to life, and Oberev steers the boat away with the ship. A smile stretches across your face as you watch the Paris grow smaller as you get further away. We did it! We're gonna... Boom! The Paris is swallowed up in a fiery explosion. As your ears ring from the intense sound of the explosion, you feel something whiz past your head. You open and close your mouth rapidly, trying to fix your ringing ears. Once the ringing begins to fade away, you look up at Oberev, who is staring past you with a look of horror. Your toes suddenly feel cold and wet. Look down. Comrade, there's a leak! You look at the front of the boat and see a hole where the water is gushing forth. You come to the realization that what flew past was shrapnel from your explosion, and it must have punched a hole in the boat. The boat is sinking, and you need to get to land now. There, steer towards that ice sheet. Oburev steers. Oburev steers towards the ice as the boat starts to sink. As the boat rams into the ice sheet, you and Oburev both lurch forward. In the crash, you are knocked down to your hands and feet. Before the boat sinks, you and Oburev manage to scramble onto the icy shore. Panting, you stand up and look out at the ice sheet near you. Oburev is now gasping for air. You both take a moment to catch your breath before silently nodding at each other. Well, where is home? Oburev points silently towards the rising sun. Without exchanging any words, you begin walking in that direction. Oburev follows closely behind. As you walk forward, you can only think of one thing. Maya, I'm coming. I won't be replaced. The end. Sean Arnold, original score, isolation, sound effects. We live. That's actually probably the best ending. I don't know if it like keeps our endings. I know we get achievements, but I don't know of how many endings that it keeps. So I am going to stop this here. We got to get back to work in 16 minutes. But probably tonight I'll refilm this. I have the by the time this releases, I'll have the Security Breach 2 video already out. But I'm going to post this one as well on the same day. I'm going to just try and crank the fuck out of videos, man. I'm just going to like play games, print them. I'm going to relive all of my past games that I've played because this, it's basically a different, and not this one obviously, but it's basically a different game whenever you have a system that actually works. We'll probably touch up some Valorant, Stanley Parable in the future. I'd actually have to look. Let me see on my file on the other screen. Oh, that's not good. I'm just gonna pop this up and put this over here. Let's see. I'm just gonna read it from top to bottom, the ones I have in my completion tab to be doing. We got 60 Seconds Reatomized, which is probably one of my favorite games of all time. Definitely a top 10, if not top 15. Deltarune, obviously. I've already done pretty much everything in that game, but I haven't really read. I've just kind of did. Don't Escape 4 Days to Survive is going to be really nice. Security Breach in Sister Location. Franbo. Pizzeria Simulator. House Flipper. Inscription. It steals. Keep talking and nobody explodes. It's going to be a little tough, but I might try and do it. Monster Prom is probably going to be a no. That's for some private stuff. Papers, Please. Schedule 1. Spore. We're going to bring back Tattletale because I bought that game whenever it released so long ago, and I haven't gotten around to it. And then Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe and Undertale. Technically, I already finished Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. I'll see if I can redo it. Same with Undertale, but I'll see if I can redo it. I'll also make a part 2 to this one momentarily. Just can't be now because I literally have 13 minutes. Quick little 30-minute video. I will see you guys in the next one.